Hello and welcome to this week's podcast. It's been a busy week down in Cardiff Bay, and it's only Wednesday, and to be honest, we don't get to say that very often. It has been a really busy week.
First off, it was Rhodri's last day yesterday. It was last plenary session, last First Minister's questions, and last press conference as well. So sort of marking the end of an era, really.
It was a strange feeling down there yesterday. There was a sense of end of an era, sort of that feeling. Of course, he leaves such a gap, a chasm behind him.
Yeah,
really,
he
because
does, yeah.
to an extent, Rhodri is Welsh politics, isn't he?
I think so. I think he was that character that kind of built up the Assembly. The Assembly kind of grew around him and around his leadership, and I think it's going to be a very different place from here on in.
I think, well, he's been called father of devolution, before, which is true, because he has sort of moulded devolution around his character. So, Carwyn Jones, then, with a lot to do, is he going to be able to fill those shoes?
Well, I think we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know. I think that people possibly underestimate him a little bit. I think that he's got that kind of character. He's got the kind of experience there. I think that he could do a good job.
No one's going to be another Rhodri, but I'm sure that Carwyn will bring something to the table. And I suppose we spoke to the other party leaders yesterday, and they're looking forward to the challenge that he brings.
Yeah.
But I suppose going back to Rhodri Morgan, it was his big day. What's going to be the memory that you take away of Rhodri Morgan? In 20 years' time, you look back and say, what about Rhodri Morgan? What are you going to think of?
I think the one thing that will always stick out in my mind is that kind of man of the people kind of approach that he took to the job, because he was always out there, this image of him sort of wandering around the Sunday market with his shopping bags and stuff like that, and it's kind of, he's just a regular guy. What about you?
Well, you've stolen my answer to a degree there, because my sort of abiding memory of Rhodri will be when I went to watch Wales-Italy in the San Siro as a present for doing well in my GCSEs, and me and my dad were just strolling around Milan, and there he was having a coffee, and so I said Shwmae, and went over and had a bit of a coffee and a chat with him, and those sort of the bits when he does meet people and he doesn't have an entourage, like you said. But I suppose you don't want to hear about us talking about Rhodri Morgan when you can hear from the man himself. Here's a little snippet from his final press conference yesterday.
And I made the point before about Jordi Pujol, the granddaddy, big daddy of regional tier government in Europe, saying to me right at the start of devolution when he visited, and you did have to take a lot of notice of what he said because he did know what he was talking about. He went for 20 years, from the age of 50 to the age of 70, non-stop as the first president of Catalonia, and he said, Rhodri, you've got to get a helicopter. And I said, well, why do you have to have a helicopter? Oh, he said, you have to persuade people in Wales that power. He said, no, well, I had a helicopter because I had to persuade people in Catalonia that power had moved from Madrid to Barcelona. And if I'm opening a school, I arrive by helicopter, and I open the school, then I leave by helicopter. That's the way people in Catalonia realise that power no longer resides in Madrid. You've got to do it. And I said to him, well, that might work in Catalonia, but in Wales they'd shoot the helicopter down.
Well, that was some remarks from Rhodri Morgan's last press conference as First Minister. Now, I never thought I'd say the following sentence, that on the day of his departure, Rhodri Morgan was in danger of being overshadowed by none other than Mohammed Ashkar, Assembly member. But yet, here we are.
Indeed.
So, you're going to take up the story
Well,
then?
this is it. So yesterday, Rhodri Morgan's just finished his last press conference. The press pack is gathered for the Tory press conference. And all of a sudden, David Melding's face appears in the press pack, in the crowd. And
hello, David.
Hello, David.
How are you?
It was a bit strange.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
Jonathan Morgan came in.
Yes, as a Conservative
Brindley Williams.
Yes.
Andrew Artie-Davies.
Again.
Alan Keynes.
More.
I think you get in the picture.
So they're there. They line up in the front row, and we're all thinking this is a bit strange.
What's going on here?
Happen.
I thought they were going to do a can for us. I was bitterly disappointed.
Well, and then Nick Bourne enters. He says,
Chel Gillian
there as well. Says we've got a new person added to our group. Enter stage left, Mohammed Ashkar, none other than.
Yeah, much to the shock and surprise of the assembled press pack. Everybody clamouring to their cameras and trying to film, so you can see some footage that we took sort of on the fly of the event itself. Now, it caught the vast majority of us by surprise.
I think it was pretty much everybody by surprise.
Nobody was expecting it. for the Conservatives, I can see, this is good news for them. It has to be good news for them. Good news for Nick Bourne as well, who has been under pressure the past couple of years. A couple of coups d'etats have been floated around, none of which have actually come off. Now he can claim that as a leader, he's managed to entice an assembly member from another party to cross the floor.
There is a danger though that we can overemphasise the importance of this, because ultimately you have to look at Mohammed Ashgar's role within Plaid Cymru. He wasn't a very prominent assembly member for them. He was a backbencher in the truest form. He wasn't a key policy maker or anything like that. So statistically it makes a difference, not a huge one, and I think in any other terms it's a relatively small...
Yes, maybe there's a point there, but you've got to look, if the Conservatives are definitely going to have to look at this as a good thing. Right? They're now nearly the second biggest party in the Assembly. If another Plaid Cymru member defected and they'd swap over.
Yeah.
Okay, they've managed to steal a couple of headlines, some airtime from the Labour Party on Rodri's biggest day, and considering that for the past couple of months it's all been Labour, with the election and what have you. So for them it's got to be a good thing, and they all seem pretty chuffed yesterday.
Well, this is the thing, this is something that they're going to be looking to do more and more in the coming months ahead of that general election, because this is the big thing that they're aiming for now, is to pick up MPs in Wales, which is something that they really want to do.
So it was a good bit of PR from them then. I mean, the press pack was scuttering around like headless chickens. We didn't know what was going on. It caught us genuinely by surprise.
It doesn't happen that often.
And actually, it's a bit of a buzz around the place. Of course, there are going to be questions. Plaid Cymru have been asking questions about what this means for the voters of the region that, of course, Mohammed Ashgar represents. And this is a clip from Di Lloyd, then, who we spoke to yesterday about the implications of a Mohammed Ashgar's decision.
Now means that the electors of South East Wales have less of a Plaid Cymru representation than they actually voted for in 2007, and more of a Conservative Party representation than they also voted for in 2007. So there's a real issue here of the legitimacy or the mandate that he has got now to continue as an Assembly member.
So Di Lloyd there, but of course Mohammed Ashgar chose not to tell his own party, he chose to come out to the press instead, so we asked him why he chose to let down Ieuan Jones like that.
No, I thought it's my personal prerogative when I declare it should be to the public rather than one individual. He's a gentleman. Ieuan Jones is a very good person and I respect him very much, but it's my personal view, as I said. I want Wales to have his own parliament and play a stronger role in the United Kingdom.
Well, that's just about it from us this half week. More to come tomorrow, because you've got Carwyn Jones and Cabinet and all sorts of things. Interesting note aside, at this point, read my blog post which I wrote earlier this week about what the Cabinet's going to look like.
You've not, because you've got it wrong, I tell you, because there's going to be a North Wales Assembly member in there.
Well, okay, we'll save this fight for another time. Leave your comments and let us know what you think, and we shall see you again soon.
Bye-bye.